They are the gift that keeps on giving when you get it right. It's incredible. You get an incredible rhythm and cadence to productivity. So the productivity rhythm is just out of this world, and particularly because you've got a group of people who are thinkers, who are change agents, and when they're practicing that and they're seeing evidence of that, and majority of business analysis improvement techniques should include metric analysis. And if you're measuring the metrics that you've got, the metrics that you're doing, you can see the return on investment for what you're doing in the wider business, in the wider organisation. You've got a team who are highly motivated. They will not need telling to pick up a book, to read the latest Simon Sinek book, Malcolm Gladwell book, or thoughts like Donut's Economics at the moment. That's the stuff where the natural heavy learners, the sponges from that point, and the internal client satisfaction should be very high if you get the right people. Equally, within the team, they need to protect that geek space that they can, as a group of BAs, you've got that mental sort of element of stimulation and conversation. But there's certain stuff where you then, when you go back on stage or back client side, you know, hold back your geek bit, don't scare them off. And I, in the earlier years, used to people often say, Jason, like, whoa, you're scaring people off. And perhaps I was, and perhaps I needed to change and to temper that a little bit. Possibly I still do, I'm human. But if you get the right people in the team, 1 + 1 should equal 3, because one person's conversation spotting something else. Like I mentioned, my business partner, John, he clocked what was on the screen, offered his insights from manufacturing and engineering, what he did in the Manufacturing Institute 15 years ago, the growth company in Manchester, clocked something, and added his thoughts in, which meant I could take that back to the client. 1 + 1 = 3. It was there. You've got an infectious curiosity when you've got a great team of BAs. You've got people who want to solve problems. One of the best examples I saw of this was, I was at JD Williams in Manchester, Martin House above Victoria train station. Phenomenal team of BAs there. And I buy a lot of records, and you go in and you're like, you go back to the team, you'd be analysing, what did I just see in the record shop? How could that have been done different? Was there a Kanban approach? Was there a flow with what was happening then? They took the money off me nicely. What did they do? They were fluent, they were congruent. The point being is, as a team of geeks, you can self-analyse, and that's what you want. And the leader at that time, a wonderful lady called Julie Mokes, she was like, wow, this is utopia. You know, you're analysing analysis, and that infectious curiosity. I think you've got incredible thinkers and stimulating each other's brains as well. That's no bad thing, surely. So, considering all the previously mentioned points, understanding the organisation, understanding the system architecture, the business architecture, and where they are, the characteristics that match the culture, you've got to identify that and convey that in the advert. So recently we did a piece for a Cumbrian Housing Association. Part of that was setting up their BA team and helping them recruit their BA. And how do you make that advert stick it to the right person? You need to understand the organisation and the journey they're on, but the appetite that they've got too. Because if you get somebody who's super revved up, full of techniques and full of passion, and the organisation only wants to go from here just to there, and yet somebody's thinking they're coming in, taking them on to the stratosphere, that person is quickly going to become unwell, uncomfortable, and a square peg in a round hole. So at that point, it's considering the organisational maturity and the journey and communicating that. So if you are a small business as a cottage industry and you're looking to make improvements to the next level, but the next level is not like meteoric, that needs capturing in the advert, because there'll be some fantastic BAs who think, actually, I'm coming to the end of my career and I just want to take things a little bit easier, or some people just want to operate in a slightly different way, in a microcosm rather than a macrocosm. So it's looking at how the pace and the type of change is and communicating that. That's what we did with that particular client with regards to, you know, they were on a journey, they're looking to move to, we didn't say to world class, but moving to sort of a point of improvement and to shape it up. And what we really were looking for, somebody who had bruised knuckles, had been sort of in different sectors and different industries, who understood I'm stronger by what I don't know, because that's the question, but I'm comfortable in my own skin. And in that situation, we found a fantastic VA who worked at various different elements around the world, wanted slightly to just have a bit less of a crazy pace, but at the same time wanted to make a big difference too. And that's set to match their social values too. And this is where it's also interesting, where your corporate social responsibility can sometimes be an element that can play too, because a lot of business analysts, there is a reason why they want to do what they're doing. It's not always just for a commercial gain, it might be for an alternative piece too.
Yeah.
And I think when you're recruiting the BAs, as I said, you want to excite talent, but you need to manage the expectations of the talent. Like I said, I've been in a situation once where I thought I was coming in to help somewhere work towards Premier League, not realising that passion was misinterpreted as criticism of the organisation. They wanted to just go at 10 mile an hour, whereas perhaps I wanted to go at 100 mile an hour. And I was a square peg in a round hole in that situation. If there'd been a bit more due diligence on either side, whether it would have gone flat or not, it's different. So, and then if you're recruiting BAs, checking your own network, or otherwise, but that's your network is your net worth. And if you've not got a good network, then that's useful as a chocolate fire guard who has got a good network, or working with people like yourselves as recruitment partners who've got the networks to get the plug in to say, actually, this is what's there. Very often, ourselves, we get called in to advise on recruitment for BAs for that reason, as per the example we're given, because some will recognise we don't know what we don't know, but we need somebody who's not like me necessarily. This is definitely not like me, but you can tease out what they want and what they need, and all the stuff described can be the bridge, and just sitting on the sitting in the interviews and helping with scoring and measuring. So there's people who are there to help. You're not alone. I think it's the key that I was trying to say in a long-winded way. So the things that you've said, absolutely, bedside manner is crucial, and for that matter, it's looking at ensuring as a recruiting manager or as a leader or otherwise, you're looking for the tells of non-verbal miscommunication risks. What do I mean by that? There was a chap who I interviewed, CV, wonderful, probably one of the strongest CVs I've seen. However, as soon as I met him, I came down to lift. The woman on reception didn't look quite as comfortable as she normally does, and she'd engage with him. Shook his hand, they had a bone-crushing handshake. That's fine, I've got a strong handshake, but he held us there for just a slight bit too long. The point being is, when we come up into the session of the interview, I would ask a question, he would answer me. The head of HR would ask a question, she would ask a question, and he would answer me. There could have been a whiff of misogyny. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. But that would have been what people would have read. For myself, he would have been a potential grievance machine because of the miscommunication, because of holding us there too long, possibly making people feel uncomfortable. He was a hotspot, and he didn't get the job, and I fed it back to him, regarding that, and we had a conversation there. And I think it's important because character over competencies. If you've got the competencies and someone's a bit less, if you've got the character, I would always recruit on character over competencies. Yeah,
that's what we always say.
You've got the skills, you can nurture them and do that. I can think of one person who I recruited. It wasn't truly a BA role, but it was a BA stroke, business analyst role. Said person, he was up against people with doctorates and other stuff. However, he loved stats, he loved analysis, and you could see from the sparkle in his eye, but it was there, basically.
Yeah.
And he's gone on and thrived and had promotion since, and I've long since left there, but he's had thrived. Now that's because of him, not because of me, because he was the right person in there. He had passion, and passion counts for a heck of a lot, particularly when you're in the hard slog of problem solving, when everybody's saying, oh, we can't do this. If your glass is half empty too, well, bloody hell, it's a race to the bottom, isn't it? What you want is somebody who's infatigable with seeing this, no, we can do this, this can be done, this is there, there's always a better way. And that passion, I think, is also aligned with knowledge of self. How well do you know yourself? It may be you've done Myers-Briggs, it might be that you've done some Belbin type of thing, whatever, it doesn't matter. How well do you know yourself, and how do people interact? I know I'm Marmite, and some people will say that Jason Kingston, not a threat. Get that? You can't be all things to all people, but just knowing yourself and how that works. If the BAs know themselves, and that becomes apparent in the process, then they will understand when there's a time when they are not the best person to do that piece of work. And that's the squad. You wouldn't put a goalkeeper up front if you're into football, would you? And the final bit is that they've got an ability to ask questions clearly, intelligently, and they can hold multiple thoughts. That is where there's almost a whiff of the ADHD, I think, speaking from personal experience, is a gift. It's the ability, when everybody else is like, this is chaos, it's like, it's fine, but I can navigate the chaos, I've got this. So I think just I'll reverse engineer this. So if you do competency-based interviews, you can check the character, but you can also check the competencies, and you can check. So you get a lot of people say, oh yeah, I can do process mapping, I've used Visio. I've got a calculator, but does it make me an accountant? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. It's that point. So very often, oh yeah, I can do project management. I've got Microsoft Project. No, if you think that's the case, that for me would be an immediate removal from the conversation, because it's knowing it, it's knowing your onions, or being honest and saying, I don't truly get that. So I think that's quite key and quite important. And then out of that, because if the wrong person has bluffed or been allowed to bluff, the responsibility is on you as a recruiting manager to do as much as you can to see what the person is like. So when they say, I've done process mapping, I've done whatever, and you say, right, I've got half an hour now, document your journey to work in a car, blank canvas. If they can't have the ability to think and know how to document that to diamond, the decision gates and all the rest of it, they're kind of going to get found out. If they don't get found out, what you're going to get is internal client frustration significantly. You're going to get your ear chewed off as the leader of them, and you're going to end up on the tools yourself, mopping up from what they've done. So you're not getting it right first time, you're getting it right eighth time. You've also going to probably end up dealing with later on a performance management issue or whatever. It's incorrect business requirements can be progressed, so the outputs could be a product which is not correct, or an output which is not correct, or the problem you're trying to solve is actually been replaced with another problem in that situation. And also it's uncomfortable for that human being, that BA themselves, if they are a square peg in a round hole. And you won't wish that on any human being either. So try and nip it in the bud before it has a chance to start by not recruiting them in the first place. I don't think it's easy, but I think there's an easy way and a right way. Doing it the right way is understanding your business and system architecture, understanding your own culture. Is it an oppressive culture? Is there a high power distance index? Is there a culture of fear? Is there a culture of autocracy? Is it command and control? All of these things, a good BA will be picking up on this in the tune and probably measuring it, but it can have an impact on those in regards to how they are working. And I think if we spoke before about the power of the prefix, haven't we? Whether you're a digital BA, a traditional or a DMAIC BA or otherwise. And in some cases, some people have been BA'd, but they've never had the title BA. I've been a process coordinator, I've been a quality analyst. There's a BA, and it's sort of evolved. And recently we've had BA, which is what it is. But at the same time, we've had people who work in operational excellence who've been BAs and everything other than name, and they're still operating and trading that way internationally, doing value stream maps and otherwise. But it's understanding the culture that you have got, and if your system architecture and your vision, value, and your 3-year roadmap, if you will, for your organisation has got those different elements of it, that should be an ability to see. Do you want people who just will design without question? Because some just want a digital product, and this leads us into our later piece regarding product owners, regarding if it's a product which is to be produced, that's more doing than thinking. So if you've got somebody who's got that Six Sigma, that DMAIC type of background, that traditional BA background, just looking for problems to solve, they're going to be hyper frustrated if you're just telling them just do it. For what? Equally, if you've got people who are familiar with the demand fit approach, which is this what they've improved the design from that piece, then they can apply the thinking in a constricted way. It's forward. So it's understanding what they need, 3-year roadmap. Do they want just design a question or to solve problems? And are they DMAIC or digital, the power of the prefix? That is the things to consider of what are your needs and what are your wants and what's in your production line going forward too.